Hello, it's Shauna and I'm passionate about pages. Look at those adorable gnomes. Gnome Matter is a stamp and thin cut set that's available in the July-August Close to My Heart catalogue in 2020. I think these guys are the cutest. I'd like to share two of the cards that are featured in our catalogue that have some very clever little techniques within them. This video will take you step by step through the process of making both of these cards. I hope you enjoy it and it will excite you to try one or both of them. Pretty darn excited to have this stamp set and thin cut set in my hot little hands. Oh, very cool. I am going to share with you today these two cards that are in the latest catalogue, July-August 2020 catalogue. I love copying things out of the catalogue because an artist made them. And so if I copy them, I might look a bit like an artist. So first up, I'm going to show you this Nobody Loves You Like I Do card. So this original one is a card. Now, I have to confess, I have more cards than I know what to do with. My main passion is scrapbooking. And so I am actually going to make up this design as my own PML card, which is just a 6x4 card that I can use in a photo well, a 6x4 photo well on a layout, or use it in a pocket page along the way, because I can think of lots of layouts that this would go with. The little saying, nobody loves you like I do. I mean, come on. I know lots of people I'd have photos of that I feel that way about. So between the two cards, you need to cut one of each thin cut, and you'll actually pretty much use every stamp on the sheet with these two cards. Before I start demonstrating, I just want to tell you about a resource that you might not know about. So when you look at these designs in the book, there are never instructions for them. Okay, so they're meant to be inspiration for you, and you're not meant to like slavishly copy everything, but some of us like to. So there is a resource on my website. You see my website there, shaunarichards. And actually write the words close to my heart rather than CTMH. Okay, shaunarichards.closetomyheart.com.au. And when you click on the little More tab, you will find a link to view the catalogues. And then when you get to this catalogue, underneath it, there will be a link to a recipes document. Okay, and that's this one. All right, so it's lots of columns of very fine print. You need to have a look at what the page number is that you're copying from, and you find that page number in the recipe. And then if they're like, so there's two cards on there, so they've got Nobody Loves You Like I Do. So that is an ingredients list of all the things that they've used on that card. And then this second one, No Matter What card, is that one, and this is a list of all the things they've used on there. It's always a good idea to check this out because you might be surprised with what they actually used on the card, as I was with this one. So when I looked at this one, I thought, oh, they've coloured that in with the markers, and isn't that clever that they've coloured all the centre of the hat in the light end of the markers, and then they've just done a really fine line around the outside with the dark markers. I wonder which marker it was. I couldn't see one that was that colour green. And then when I looked on the recipe list, they listed Reinkers on the list. Okay, now a reinker is a little bottle. I think it's 29 ml, so almost 30 ml of the same colour ink that is on your ink pads. And the idea of these is that you can use them to re-ink your ink pads. Now, I know some people will tell you, you never have to re-ink your ink pad, but let me tell you, if you use a colour a lot and you do re-ink it, it will be amazing, because as you've used it, you've got used to the colour not being as juicy and as strong as it's dried out a little bit, and then you re-ink it and it brings it back to new life. It's not something you have to do all the time, but my favourite colours I do once a year, and so I do buy the re-inker for the colours that I love. Okay, so I was like, all right, so they've used Reinkers. Cool. I've never coloured in with Reinkers before. Consulted some experts in colouring in and just gave it a whirl. So that's what I'm going to share with you today, is how I did the colouring. So you'll see that this one has a black border and it has the red gingham, which is the paper out of the Summer Vibes paper. But I would have to have a layout with a lot of red on it for that to go with, and I don't tend to use a lot of red in my layouts. So instead I went to the mix-ins pack and I found the soft blue check. So I've still got the look of the check, but it's just a different colour, and I didn't have to change the colours of any of these other accents because they tied in really nicely with it too. This one is a card, so it would have only been 5.5 inches tall, whereas I'm making a PML card, so mine is 6 inches tall. So I might just have to adjust how high up I put my little gnome, you know, to balance that shape. It's only an extra 1/2 inch, but it does make a difference. And I decided not to frame my piece, because if it goes in a pocket, I don't want to have lots and lots of layers because it's already got layers on it. Okay, so let me just zoom in more. Okay, so you'll see that it's used the stitched hearts. I just followed the diagram in the book to piece together this little cluster and I haven't stuck that down yet. Also followed the inspiration in the book to stamp the title. Now again, there's no measurements for how big to cut any of these things, so I started with the title and just worked my way out from there. And now I just want to show you how you can colour with the Reinkers, okay? And we're going to colour his shirt to match the bluebird heart, and we don't have a marker that's that colour. So you will need the fine point water brush. Gotta love the pause button when you realise you've picked up the medium instead of the fine. So you need the fine tip water brush. You need a block, and you need your Reinker in your desired colour. Okay, and all you're going to do is put 1 drop on the block. Okay, so this is basically your artist's palette here. Now we're going to colour his shirt, and so just have a scratch bit of paper that you can make sure there's no colour left on your brush from the last time you used it. And before you pick up any colour, just go over his shirt where you want colour to run, because it will just help the Reinker spread a little bit better. Okay, then you are going to just drag out a tiny little bit, and because there's water on your brush, it will dilute the colour of that, and then just have a little play till you think it's the colour you want. And you're just going to very quickly colour in his shirt. And because it's the fine brush, it goes into all those little nooks and crannies really nicely. You could have this lighter if you wanted, but I really did want it to match the colour of the heart. So I've kept mine fairly dark. And if you wanted to do shading, you could really dilute one section and make it darker in another section, like you do when you're using the markers. And that's it. How hard is that? Pretty cool, huh? Now, when we look at his hat, that was coloured with the sage ink. And so I really diluted the colour and coloured all of his hat first. And then I let that dry. And then I went in and I didn't dilute the colour and I drew around the outline. Now, up this close, it's not perfect. And I have to admit, that was my very first time painting with Reinkers when I did that hat. But when it's down on the card, it's not going to be so obvious. So that's as hard as that gets. And then it's just a matter of, oh, sorry, I've got to find my tape. It's just a matter then of taping all that down. Center your heart. I think I'm going to pop him up on some foam tape so that he stands out a little bit from the background. And all I'll have to add on is a few sequins. So in the original design, let me show you, you can see the bottom of the heart, but because I've pushed the heart segment up a little bit, I'm going to drop him down on my card, on my PML card. And there you have it. Now we'll just whack on some glue dots for some sequins. And again, I'm just using the illustration in the book as a guide to where they go. And I'm just going to put the bigger ones on now, and I'll come back and put the smaller ones on after I finish filming, because you don't need to see that. I've got these cute little containers for the sequins to go in. I love them. We sell these in packs of 3. And it just makes it so much easier to use the sequins than in those Ziploc bags that they come in. And there it is. So, same design, just a slightly different colorway. I'm really happy with that. Now let's move on to the second card, which has a couple of different techniques in it. If you have a look at this one, there's a lot more colouring in, and the background has sponging on it. Okay, it's got Carolina ink at the bottom and it goes up to Bluebird ink. This is cut with a Cricut. It's a circle cut with a Cricut. I didn't bother with that. I just had some scraps of sage on my table, and so I just drew a pencil line to create kind of a hill shape. And I actually cut some other segments that I'm going to layer on it just to give it a bit more depth. And then I just scissor cut that. So don't worry if you don't have a Cricut, but you might have, you know, like a green circle lying around somewhere that you can use, which would be really cool. All right, for the sponging, I'm just using 1/4 of a round sponge, and I've put a bulldog clip on it so that it's easier for me to hold. I've already done the Carolina. I took my little hill and I figured out about how far down my Carolina needs to go. And I just drew, again, on the card, they used Cricut cut clouds. I just drew and hand cut my clouds. And they're on a piece of white paper, and on the back, I did this last night, I used the Tombow Mono liquid glue, and I used this end. And when you use this end, it comes out smooth and you can cover a whole piece with the glue. Then you leave it dry and it becomes repositionable adhesive, so these clouds will lift off. So I'm able to use them as a mask, and I'll be able to reposition them as I go up, because when you look, there's several clouds. Okay, so I'm not going to spend hours on this sponging. Just take a bit of ink from here. I'm working on my all-purpose mat, so that I can sort of take a bit of ink off if there's too much loaded on my sponge. And I'll just go across the top of those ones and under the bottom of this one, and then I'm going to peel them off, and we've got the shape of the cloud left behind. Okay, yeah, I'm going to leave that one there, and then I'll reposition this one here, and this one misjudged what it would be, so let's just change the shape of this one. Now, if you think you're likely to, use cloud stencils a lot of the time, then it's a good idea to make them from template plastic, and we sell that. But if you don't think you're going to do that very often, you can just do what I've done and just use paper. Okay, and I'll just finish off my sponging. So this shouldn't take you, hours and hours. And then peel those up. And there I've got my clouds. And I'll be able to go, if there's a little bit of adhesive left on, just go over it with your pickup square afterwards, and you'll be able to pick all of that up. And then it's just a matter of positioning your pieces on here. I've run a little bit of adhesive along the bottom of that strip. Then I'll put this one down underneath. Give that a haircut. Okay. Then I've got to add my gnome and the flowers. Okay, so this flower here was coloured with a marker, the pale pink marker. Okay, and then the rest of it was done with the watercolour, the same way that I coloured in the the same way I coloured in words, Shauna, his shirt before. So again, it would just be a matter. Now I know I've got some light and some dark brown here, so I'll just do a little bit of the light brown on here, and then I can pick up some of the dark brown where the dots are, just to shade that a little bit, and then take that over. It's all right if it runs out, because I can pick up some of the dark again and go back over this. Okay. This flower at the top is coloured with red shimmer brush. So this card uses several different colouring mediums on the one card, and I think I've never thought to do that terribly much. I tend to, if I colour one thing with shimmer brush, I colour everything with shimmer brush. The same as if I've used watercolour pencils, or if I've used the markers, I don't tend to use other things with it. So I love learning new things, and this card has made me realise that, yeah, I could use lots of different things to colour the one image. And I'm going to whack this one down over here. Now again, I'm going to put it a little bit higher up because I've got a taller piece of paper. This little guy is actually coloured, his pants are actually coloured with the marker, because there's no cardstock on this card that I need to match. So I'll just do the light all over, and then I'll go straight in with an outline of the dark. I think I might have grabbed the wrong colour blue. Never mind, I can go over that later. Then I'm going to whack him on some foam, and his hat is actually coloured in with stickles. And so I'm just going to give you a quick idea of how to colour such a large surface with your stickles. You know, when you're hurrying, you make mistakes. Okay. So whenever I'm using stickles, I make that the very last thing I do on a project. And I'm just going to tuck his little tootsies in behind that grass there. There should be, yep, a little wee butterfly that is cut. It was supposed to be cut from the ballerina cardstock. I cut mine from white, so I just coloured it in with a marker first, and that's sitting on the toadstool. I'm not putting the sentiments on this one, because I'll wait till I know what the page is, and I will probably put something up here, or I may even journal on that section there. So this hat is a reasonably large surface area, and stickles come out fairly finely, but if you just start, I knew this would happen. Sometimes you just have to put a pin down the nozzle if they're a bit blocked. Yep, that's it. So I'm just going to go close to the edge and go all the way around the edge of his hat. Oh, it's not happy, this one today. Oh, I'm going to pause. Right, got it flowing. So you're just kind of going to use the nozzle to push it around, and that will give it a bit of a textural look. Okay, so go close to the edge and then just kind of splotch it around. It's a technical term, okay? Now, if you wanted this to be a more solid red, you could have gone over it first with the shimmer brush, and in hindsight, that would have been a really good thing for me to do. So when that dries, I might touch it up with the shimmer brush. Okay, and that's, yeah, you look at theirs, that's a really dark red compared to mine. I reckon they shimmered first. Oh well, see, I always make the mistakes for you. Okay, that's the two cards. Have fun with that. If you have a go playing with the gnomes, I would love you to share that with us. Or if you have some other similar sorts of stamps that could make a scene card like that, or the little heart card like this, I would love you to show us. Have a wonderful day, everybody. The Close to My Heart product range changes regularly to keep up with the new trends in the paper crafting world. The products used in this video may not be currently available, but something similar is sure to catch your eye when you visit my website, shaunarichards.closetomyheart.com.au. Happy shopping!